Good morning. This morning, we thank the Abenaki peoples, traditional stewards of the land where we gather this morning. We thank the Abenaki elders and ancestors for helping us better understand our relationship with the natural world. May we respect and honor their wisdom and traditions as we navigate the world around us today and all days. And thank you to all of you gathered here in the sanctuary and joining our community via live stream this morning. Thank you for joining together in shared worship on this glorious and freezing December morning and as the second day of winter. I am Diane Marie, she, her, your worship associate today, and on one of the darkest days of the year. On behalf of the full worship team, I warmly welcome and deeply appreciate each and every one of you. This is a time when our thoughts are with family and friends, and some of you may have personal or humanitarian concerns in your hearts and minds this morning. You have come to the right place. Since 1864, the Unitarian Church of Montpelier has been a sanctuary for those seeking both personal and spiritual sustenance and widespread justice, peace, goodwill, and love. We are fortunate to have a strong ministerial leadership for this work. Equally important, this church community thrives on ideas and actions that all of you bring. From newcomers to long-timers, we are on this journey together. It is always a pleasure to have newcomers and guests. If this is your first or second time visiting and you feel comfortable doing so, you are invited to stand or wave your hand so we can give you a special welcome. Newcomers are invited to fill out our welcome form available in the hospitality table in the vestry during coffee hour so that we can welcome you more fully. Now let's take a moment to welcome our neighbors in the pews. Lovely. Oh, such joyous conversations. Okay. You are all invited to continue these wonderful conversations during coffee hour after the service, so that everyone present can get most out of our time together this morning. We have hearing assist devices available at the table of the rear of the sanctuary. And you can also listen and watch the service in the fireplace room downstairs if you should care to leave for the sanctuary for any reason. Also, a member of our lay pastoral care team is available here in the sanctuary after the service if you have a personal concern and would like to share more deeply. This morning, our lay pastoral caregiver is Gail Picard. There she is. Oh, no.
We have a son.
Dawn. Yes. All right. Well, now let us take a deep breath and make sure our cell phones are silenced and enter more deeply into our time of worship and the prelude.
'Tis the season of cold days and dark nights, a season for inviting quiet and for being still. Still enough to notice the slow turning of this half of the earth back toward the sun. Just like humans for centuries before us, we gather in community for ritual and song to make meaning of the seasons and cycles. We revel in the interplay of darkness and light and spark hope with the kindling of the flame, a flame to light the shadows, a flame aglow with possibility and promise. All month, we have been lighting the candles of the Advent wreath in rhythm with the season of waiting and preparation. And on this, the fourth Sunday of Advent, we light 4 candles, one for hope, one for peace, one for joy, and one for love. May the light of these candles help us to bring more love into the world, and may hope, peace, and joy, and love be with us in this time of worship this morning. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn. It's number 55 in the gray hymnal, Dark of Winter.
Please join me in welcoming Tim Favorite and family, Lucy, looks like, to light our chalice. And as they light the chalice, I share these words of Rabbi Janet Madden, sparking hope. As pain shrouds our world on this dark epoch of days, we search the skies for signs, for the waxing moon, for the light of distant stars. Each cosmic candle shimmering, signaling to each Pentaleiad, sparking hope for an engulfing glow to illuminate all peoples through love, the endlessly renewable resource that lights our way. In unison now, let us speak our covenant. We covenant to speak honestly and listen deeply to each other and the voice within, treat each other with compassion and honor our differences, take responsibility for the impact our words, actions, and inactions have on each other, support each other in times of need and of grief, and celebrate the beauty and joy in our lives, honor the gifts of the past, and be gentle with each other as we grow, encourage each other in the brave work of creating a more beloved community and a healthy, sustainable world, and forgive each other and start again. Thank you, favorite family.
At this time, I'd like to invite up any children in the sanctuary, as well as anyone young at heart who'd like to come up onto the chancel for a story for all ages. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. Come on up. Hi. Hi, everyone. Feel free to come in even closer if you want. We can make a nice, cozy circle up here. It's great to see you all. So I'm wondering if you all know what just happened. It was a planetary happening that was very special. It has to do with day and night. Anyone know? Lucy?
The winter solstice.
The winter solstice. And what does that mean?
It means it's the darkest day of the year.
The darkest day of the year, Lucy says. Yes, that's right. Exactly. The darkest day, meaning the shortest day and the longest night, right? That just happened yesterday. And from this point forward, what happens? Our days will have what? They'll be longer. Yes, longer. The hand gestures really make the point. Thank you, Lucy. The days will get longer. Yes, and there will be more daytime and less nighttime. And this is a time of year when we really can notice the darkness, even as we're preparing for the sunlight to return. And the story I have to share with you this morning is about darkness. And actually, it's about learning to love the dark. Do any of you love the dark already? Darkness can be a hard thing sometimes for us to appreciate. So that's why this is what this story is about today. So the story starts like this, and this, don't worry, it's a make-believe story, okay? It starts like this. There once was a child who got lost in the woods. And this child's name was Ty. And as night began to descend and Ty was all by themselves in the woods, Ty became more and more frightened, which is kind of natural, right? I would be really frightened if I was in the woods by myself and it started to get darker. And what made Ty even more frightened is that Ty had always been afraid of the dark. And when the sun was all the way down, and the only light that there was just a tiny little bit of light from the moon and the stars, Ty got so frightened that all they could do was sit down and cry. That is exactly what I would do. But soon Ty heard a voice that said, who is making that noise? And before Ty could scream, which was their first impulse, there was a flutter of wings, and a creature flew down near Ty, and Ty could see that it was An owl, and I'm sure many of you probably know exactly what owl this is supposed to be. I couldn't tell you, but I'm sure someone else could. I'm lost in the woods, Ty said, and it's dark and I'm afraid. No need for crying, said the owl. If you just give me your address, I can help you find your way home. And with that, Ty did indeed stop crying, partly out of relief that someone might be able to lead them home, and partly out of curiosity as to how this owl could locate their home with or without their address. But Ty decided they had little to lose, so Ty choked back their tears and replied that they would be very grateful if the owl could help and guide them home. So the pair headed off through the dark forest, and when Ty's fear had just settled down just a little bit, Ty looked around, and though the moonlight was dim, Ty began to notice their surroundings. And at one point, Ty noticed on the ground a special flower that they had never seen before. And the owl pointed it out with her beak. And she said, "That's an evening primrose. Did you know that there are some flowers that only bloom at night? Did you know that? There are some flowers that only bloom at night. There are moonflowers and night gladiolas too, flowers that you would never see if you never went out at night." And after a while, the owl said, as if musing kind of to herself, "And of course there are animals too who love night and the darkness. Me, for example, I love the dark," said the owl. "In the daytime, the light hurts my eyes, so that's when I like to go into my tree to sleep." Ty replied, "Well, I like the daytime. I can see to kick a ball. I like the hot sun on the beach. The dark isn't just scary, it's boring," said Ty. "Oh, is that so?" said the owl. "Well, it's just a little bit out of our way, but I can show you something really exciting," the owl said. So they traveled through the deepest forest for what seemed like several minutes, and they came out onto a dark beach. In this story, this is a magical place of forests and beach and primrose that bloom in the winter. "Here we are," said the owl, and Ty gazed out at the beach. It was lit very gently by the moonlight, and they thought, "This is beautiful, but I wouldn't call it exciting." But just then, there was some movement in the sand, and something started to bop its head up out of the sand. And then there was another little bubble, and another one. Do you have any idea what this could be? Coming out at the dark? Could be crabs, yeah. And is there another creature that likes to come out and maybe, yeah, Liam? I didn't hear that. Oh, a ghost crab? Is that what you said? Oh, you know more about crabs than me. It could be that. In this story, what was coming out, and the owl was so relieved, the owl said, "We came just at the right time." They were baby turtles. Hundreds of them climbing up out of the sand. This was really exciting. And once each turtle-shaped creature got up out of the sand, they started crawling as fast as their little legs could take them towards the water. And the owl said when baby sea turtles hatch, they need to find their way to the water. And they almost always do this at nighttime because to find the water, they need darkness everywhere to follow the moon and starlight reflecting off the water. Daytime sunlight is too bright and scattered everywhere. "Oh," said the child. And as they left to head back towards the woods and towards Ty's house, the owl spoke again, kind of to herself softly. "And you know who else loves the darkness besides all those nighttime plants and animals? The moon and the stars love the darkness. That's when they can really shine. Oh, like that. Yeah, like those stars. When it's daytime, they're hidden behind a wall of light. But when the wall goes down with the sun, the stars and the moon and the nebula of the universe reveal their beauty. And after gazing up at the stars for a bit, Tai and the owl left the forest. They walked down the street that Tai recognized as their own. And Tai was really happy to be home, really relieved, and also a little sad to have to say goodbye to the owl. So Tai gave the owl a gentle hug and said thank you. Tai went into their home, got into bed, and usually what they did right before bed was they turned on their night light. But this time they thought, maybe I don't need that light on. And so Tai went to bed, smiling and feeling the comforting arms of the darkness soothe them to sleep. So as the sun goes down tonight, maybe you can think about what there might be in the darkness that is special and even wonderful. Animals and the moon and the stars. And thanks for being such great listeners this morning for our story. And you can just take this beautiful starlight with you as you head off for your spiritual exploration programs. And today, to let everyone know, the older children will be helping the younger children make chocolate bags for the Monday community lunch. And we are delighted to welcome any new families that might be here to participate in our program. If you're here and you haven't already filled out a spiritual exploration form, you can come with your child to fill it out. You're welcome to stay or to come back to the sanctuary. We're so happy you're here. For snacks, there will be goldfish for our kiddos and caregivers. If you have any concerns, just let our teaching team know. And so now, children, you are welcome to follow Tim, who is leading the green rug time to the children's chapel, and adults. Let us sing the children out as they go.
It's a little tricky with the lights. So a few announcements. Today at 11:30, Reverend Joan and Joe Bauer will host a meeting in the fireplace room for anyone interested in joining an LGBTQ solidarity group at UCM. Also, all are welcome this Tuesday evening for our Christmas Eve service. A family service will be held at 4:30 p.m. The candlelight service of lessons and carols will be held at 6:30 p.m. And in between, there will be a social hour with cider and cookies. And finally, church offices will be closed Christmas Day through New Year's Day.
This first reading this morning is called In Celebration of the Winter Solstice by Stephanie Noble. Do not be afraid of the darkness. Dark is the rich, fertile earth that cradles the seed, nourishing growth. Dark is the soft night that cradles us to rest. Only in darkness can stars shine across the vastness of space. Only in darkness is the moon's dance so clear. There is mystery woven in the dark, quiet hours. There is magic in the darkness. Do not be afraid. We are born of this magic. It fills our dreams that root, unravel, and reweave themselves in the shelter of the deep, dark night. The dark has its own hue, its own resonance, its own breath. It fills our soul, not with despair, but with promise. Dark is the gestation of our deep and knowing self. Dark is the cave where we rest and renew our soul. We are born of the darkness, and each night we return to the deep, moist womb of our beginnings. Do not be afraid of the darkness, for in the depth of that very darkness comes a first glimpse of our own light, the pure inner light of love and knowing. As it glows and grows, the darkness recedes. As we shed our light, we shed our fear and revel in the wonder of all that is revealed. So do not rush the coming of the sun. Do not crave the lengthening of the day. Celebrate the darkness, here and now, a time of richness, a time of joy. This weekend, many people have marked the winter solstice, celebrating the slow lengthening of days as we rotate back into greater proximity to the sun. While some of us may celebrate the return of the light, it is also just now the official start of winter, and the lengthening of days happens ever so slowly. In fact, I looked this up. The amount of daylight we have today is just 5 seconds longer than yesterday, and tomorrow we will gain 11 seconds. Winter can be a difficult time for many of us in Vermont. The cold temperatures, the icy roads and sidewalks, the lack of sunshine. If you struggle with mobility issues or with seasonal depression, winter can be a challenging time to feel a sense of well-being. Darkness is still very much a reality during this season, especially here in Vermont, with our bounty of cloud-covered winter days. As for some of our ancient ancestors, this winter darkness can feel like a kind of death, a lack of vitality. The dark can be frightening, and we may not want to linger here too long. Yet darkness is a natural part of the cycles and rhythms of the natural world. These cycles and rhythms and seasons can also offer us grounding and a way to reconnect, especially in a time when the stressors of a seemingly collapsing world are so great. The ancient cycles as old as our solar system can remind us of our place in something greater than ourselves, our connection to forces beyond our control. I imagine those ancient people, those ancestors of ours, who without astronomical tools and years of observation and scientific research, who watched as the sun seemed to literally stand still and accordingly named this point in the year solstice. This sun standing still time can be for us a time of pause. With the long nights of winter still to come, though the longest night has now passed, we can also invite more of a pause into our lives. We might view this pause as a time of preparation. It is in the dark of winter that the seed is being prepared for something new to grow. This preparation time is a time all of its own, a time of waiting, resting, and noticing. The spiritual challenge I think we face is whether we can hold ourselves in this place of darkness without wishing it away and look for the lessons that darkness might offer. Darkness can be our teacher. It can provide the vast space to dream and to re-envision. Darkness gives us space to wonder. It is vast but not empty, ever present and full of possibility. As Stephanie Noble writes, dark is the gestation of our deep and knowing self. Dark is the cave where we rest and renew our soul. For those of you who are engaged in the long haul work of bringing about justice and liberation, peace, and protecting our planet, the darkness can be where and when you give your bodies and your hearts a break, and where you cast forward new visions, new dreams, trusting that the light will return again. Sometimes it is only in darkness that we can see the sources of light, however dim they may be. During my junior year of college, I was living abroad in Nicaragua in a mountain farming community way up in the northern part of the country. It was a very, very remote area. The closest town was a 1.5-hour bus ride away. And there was very little electricity available in this area. A few homes had it, as did the health clinic, and there were absolutely no streetlights. One day, the community was visited by a medical team from the United States to provide simple medical services. This was the only medical care the community received each year. And people came from miles away. They lined up at the clinic to be seen and cared for, and I helped out in any way that I could all day long, offering meager translation services when they were needed, entertaining children, fetching supplies. And we wrapped up our work at the end of a long day and set out to return by foot about a mile down the road to the home where I was staying. And at this point in my life, I hadn't spent very much time at all in rural areas with no electricity. My eyes were accustomed to the constant din of city lights after dark, having grown up in Chicago. And I had never had to navigate without light. For my hosts, however, walking in the dark was as natural as breathing. I had no flashlight, and the road that we walked on was a dirt road with a good number of rocks. And I remember the sensation of feeling adrift and frightened, not knowing at all where my foot was going to land. Yet my companions were right there. I listened to their voices and their laughter as I stumbled forward. And soon my eyes did adjust. The dim light of the night sky with its stars and the moon lit our way. With that light, I could make out enough shapes and forms to walk forward. And most of all, I could follow the voices of my companions. They would lead me. I was not alone. Together, we would find our way. Do not be afraid of the darkness, Stephanie Noble writes. Only in darkness can stars shine across the vastness of space. Only in darkness is the moon's dance so clear.
Now we're ready for our offering. Generosity is a practice that is central to the well-being not only of UCM, but also our broader community. It is a blessing and a privilege to support our shared values financially as we are able. Half of all your cash offerings today, placed in the green pouches at the end of the pews, will directly benefit Youth First. The other half will support the mission and ministry of this congregation. If you are writing a check this morning, please indicate on the memo line what it is for. That way you can also designate a portion of your check to Youth First. Thank you. Now at the choral.
Turn around, turn around. Turn around, turn around. Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. Turn around, turn around. Turn around, turn around. We are at the center of the darkness and the light. Turn around, turn around, turn around. We are at the center of the darkness and the light. Turn around. Let the darkness take us, like the earth we turn. Dark days will not break us. In our hearts we burn. Turn around, turn around. We are at the center of the darkness and the light. Turn around, turn around, turn around. We are at the center of the darkness and the light. Turn around, turn around, turn around. We are at the center of the darkness and the light. Turn around, turn around, turn around. We are at the center of the darkness and the light. Turn around, turn around, to darkness. We are at the center of the darkness and the light. Turn around.
This one works. I invite you into a time of meditation and prayer. Allowing yourself to feel connected to the seasons and cycles, to this time of darkness and light. Feeling within yourself, perhaps, this interplay, maybe this struggle between the dark and the light. Noticing where there are the sparks of hope present in your heart. Noticing, too, where there might be sadness that you are tenderly holding. This holiday season that is so alive with sparkle and joy can also be a time of sadness. The sadness of missing someone we love. The sadness of wishing the world were more peaceful, more compassionate. And so we offer our wholehearted presence to all of those joys, sorrows that are here among us. And with all that is present, we notice too that this is a time of magic. And in that spirit, I share with you these words of meditation by Victoria Safford. Now is the moment of magic, when the whole round earth turns again toward the sun. And here's a blessing. The days will be longer and brighter now, even before the winter settles in to chill us. Now is the moment of magic when people, beaten down and broken, with nothing left but misery and candles and their own clear voices, kindle tiny lights and whisper secret music. And here's a blessing. The dark universe is suddenly illuminated by the lights of the menorah, suddenly ablaze with the lights of the kinara, and the whole world is glad and loud with winter singing. Now is the moment of magic when an eastern star beckons the ignorant toward an unknown goal. And here's a blessing. They find nothing in the end but an ordinary baby, born at midnight, born in poverty, and the baby's cry like bells ringing makes people wonder as they wander through their lives what human love might really look like, sound like, feel like. Now is the moment of magic, and here's a blessing. We already possess all the gifts we need. We've already received our presents, ears to hear music, eyes to behold lights, hands to build true peace on earth, and to hold each other tight in love. And let us share in a time of quiet meditation together. Where the Light Begins by Jan Richardson. Perhaps it does not begin. Perhaps it is, always. Perhaps it takes a lifetime to open our eyes, to learn to see what has forever shimmered in front of us. The luminous line of the map in the dark, the vigil flame in the house of the heart, the love so searing we cannot keep from singing, from crying out in testimony and praise. Perhaps this day will be the mountain over which the dawn breaks. Perhaps we will turn our face toward it, toward what has been always. Perhaps our eyes will finally open in ancient recognition, willingly dazzled, illuminated at last. Perhaps this day the light begins in us. The presence of light is so compelling. The string of holy days that we are now in, solstice, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, all have light at the heart. Candles and fire burning, images of light entering the world. We need the light. Hanukkah, the Jewish festival of lights, begins this Wednesday night. It falls during the Jewish month of Kislev, the darkest part of the year. Hanukkah commemorates a time of oppression in Jewish history when the Jewish people fought for the freedom to practice their religion and reconsecrated the temple in Jerusalem. The legend of Hanukkah says that as the temple was being rededicated, they lit the Ner Tamid, the light above the ark, with the oil that was present, which should have been enough for just one night, but miraculously, the candle stayed lit for 8 nights. In today's festival of lights, as each candle of the menorah is lit, the nights get darker and darker as the moonlight wanes. And the lighting of the menorah candles represent the perseverance and the faith that are needed to believe that love will conquer fear and hope will endure. In this season, so many of us are searching for the light, illumination in the murky uncertainty, clarity of vision in an overwhelming time. This is probably why hundreds of people, I'm sure many of you, showed up last month to celebrate the lighting of the bridges here in Montpelier. Were some of you present for that? Yeah. The lights contain their own beauty, don't they, as they shine in the winter darkness and reflect in the river's water below. And for each of us who is captivated by those lights, I think they speak to some need we have. The need for connection, the need for reassurance, the need for hope. While we often look outside ourselves for the light, what if, as Jan Richardson writes, perhaps this day the light begins in us? With our own presence and our actions, we too can be light for one another. We too can offer one another connection, reassurance, and hope. The light begins in you and in the one beside you. It begins in the one you encounter on the dimly lit street, holding a sign that says, "Anything helps." The light begins in the one to whom you serve a meal, and in you, the one serving the meal. Finding the light in one another can be just the kind of hope we need. The Rabbi Yael Levy writes, Hanukkah urges us not to get stuck in hopelessness. This season reminds us that a small light illuminates much darkness. We never know what will result from our deeds. This season calls us to act for the sake of the goodness of the action itself. Act for the sake of the sacred. Act with reverence and love. Experience the power of taking action in the face of ruin, of stepping forward even when so much feels lost. And this season also calls us to take time to renew ourselves, to welcome joy and to practice gratitude. The flames of Hanukkah are lights of rededication, she writes. Each night we rededicate ourselves to our sacred values. As the light increases, we declare we will rise. In the face of ruin, amid the rubble, we will rise together. We will act for goodness. We will act for justice. We will act for kindness, compassion, and generosity. As the flames of the candles are lit this season, on the solstice candle, on the menorah, on the kinara, and on the Christmas candle, we can each rededicate ourselves to all we hold sacred. We can be light to one another. As the long nights give way to the growing days, let us remember the ancient wisdom of this season. The darkness can shelter our boldest dreams, and the return of the light can reassure us that dawn will break yet again. So may it be. And I'll invite us to rise for our closing hymn, number 221 in the gray hymnal, Light One Candle.
Service to a close, we extinguish the chalice and carry within each of us its healing flame, the warmth of community, and the spark of hope into the days and weeks ahead. Please join in our unison mission statement. We welcome all as we build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey to serve human need and protect the earth, our home.
And may you go from here finding sacred pause in the dark and being a light to one another. Go in peace and return again in love. And we conclude the service with the postlude.